Welcome to another episode of 8 Degrees of Yes, as we share FBA Black history in the belief life structure. The presentation is a testimony of lived experiences of a FBA woman born in 1950, Part 2. She testifies to a life of hardship without the benefits of welfare and overcoming her circumstances by joining the United States Army. She faced racism, misogyny, discrimination, abusive relationships, and became a single mother of 4 children after her husband committed suicide. After she was honorably discharged from the military, she served veterans at the Veterans Hospital in various states for over 20 years and now is retired. She shares her story with her daughter to pass on to the next generation in this episode of 8 Degrees of Yes. I am Dr. Truth Akins.
And then I was like, you know what, I could, and then, but he needed more money, so I convinced him that I could go to nursing school and become a nurse, and I'd make more money, right?
Yeah.
I at least was able to do that. So as long as I was working as an aide at night, I could go to school and take nursing classes, nursing school.
Okay.
So, and he worked at the school. He was a maintenance person at the school. So he allowed me to do that. In order to do that, though, I had to go get my GED in order to go to school.
Okay.
So I went up to the high school and I took the GED class and tested out of it and got my GED.
Congratulations. So how old were you then?
I was probably, I already had 4 kids. I was probably, when did I do? I got 32. I was like 28 or something, maybe.
Okay. How old were you when you joined the military?
30, let me see, what was it, 32?
Okay.
That joining the military was what I did right after your dad died.
Okay, so 4 years.
Yeah.
You worked at the hospital as an aide.
I worked in the hospital as an aide, yeah. And then, that's where I was working when your dad died, because I was working.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I had been going to nursing school, I now was able to really work as a nurse's aide, as opposed to just making beds and stuff. I could actually work. I got a job. I got the position. I was still the same hospital, but I got a position working because I was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I got a position working in where was I working? I got my GED in 79. It was 70. I remember that, 1979. Because once I started working, even though I was working at the factory, in order to get another job, I knew I was going to have my GED. So to work in the hospital, I did have to have my GED.
Okay.
And then once I started working there as an aide, I was able to, he let me go to school where he worked.
Nice.
And take nursing classes. And so then I was able to work, in a place where I could earn a little bit more money per hour in the emergency room. I think.
While you were working,
because I worked nights, I worked either on the floor or I got in the emergency room.
While you were working, did you work with only white people or any other black people or Mexican?
Well, there were maybe a few, but it was still Indiana, so it was mostly white people.
Okay.
But remember, we're no longer in Arkansas.
And then within 4 years, you join the military and get to travel to another country.
Yeah.
Mom, you're amazing, is what I'm trying to say. Wow. Your story.
Well, are you kidding? The thing is, after your dad died, After your dad died, I had 4 kids. So Oklahoma was my only other choice. On my dad's side, I had relatives here. You know, Laura, you know the relatives we have in Tulsa.
Okay.
That's where we came. We had relatives here, so I was like, let me go to Oklahoma. First of all, it wasn't that far away from where we were.
So you called up Laura?
Yeah, I called up Laura and actually my aunt. I didn't come stay with, I came to stay with my aunt, Eunice. I called her up and she let me, come out and stay. She let us come out and stay with her for a bit, for a little while, until I got a job.
Okay.
But I stayed with Laura for a little while too. But actually, Laura, I know what it was. Yeah, we did come out and stay with Laura for a bit.
Okay, I remember Laura and Robert.
Her house caught on fire. And so we went and stayed with Aunt Eunice. Yeah.
Okay, I remember.
But I came out here first. I came to Aunt Eunice's. It's just that we went to stay with Laura after we got here. But then her house caught on fire. And Laura actually took a trip and went back and got our stuff out of the house with the U-Haul. Because I didn't bring a U-Haul out here when I first came.
Okay. They went back and got the U-Haul.
I did. Just put our stuff in the car and go.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then let's see, we came out here, and that started our story out here, and that's, the rest from there pretty much. But I joined the Army because I kept trying to find work out here, and I couldn't find that paid anything.
Okay.
Little department store jobs where you only work up to like 34, 36 hours a week. Mm-hmm. So there's no insurance or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And making pretty much just above minimum.
What was minimum wage back then?
Oh, shoot, like $7 an hour. Mm. I started working department stores. I was working for $7 an hour.
Oh my.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And each time minimum wage would go up, that was the only time we'd get a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I remember that I think before I joined the Army, the most I made was like $11 an hour. Okay. But we were here, and we kept moving because, there were times when I couldn't pay the rent. We'd have to move and go somewhere else, start all over again. But by the time, when I joined the military, I was Dillard's. I was working for Dillard's, and Dillard's had fired me because I had been late for work because really Norman had no real transportation at the time. And I didn't have a car. So I had been like 5 minutes late.
Okay.
For 3 times of that month. Okay, so when we first came out here, there's pretty racist out here too, so this is a white store. Mm-hmm. They weren't sorry. They weren't trying to help me out. I actually went to try to get food stamps, but it wasn't a thing of getting just food stamps at that time. It was a thing of, they wanted to totally take care of everything for you. Mm-hmm. But I made $100 a year, not a month, $100 a year, too much. Yeah. I guess I was that much above the poverty line.
What did they call it back then? So, AFDC?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what the heck they call it. Whatever it was, I didn't qualify because I made $100 too much. I would have had to quit my job in order to get help. I wasn't trying to do that.
1983?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't going to do that. So, but, I we had to have somewhere to live, and you guys had to have food to eat.
Mm-hmm. I remember being in a 1-bedroom apartment.
I always wanted to join that was actually my plan before I finished. My plan was to finish high school, join the military, and then go to school for psychology or something like that, I think.
Okay.
When I was in school.
Oh.
Okay. So, since I'd always wanted to join the military anyway, I was like, this could be my way out, right? I had to go ahead and join before I aged out at that point.
How old
I
were
was
you?
already older. I was 35 at the time, and a year later, and I would have been aged out. If I'm 36, they stop at 36.
Okay.
So I joined the Army because I could have gone I was doing the Navy because, well, I'd already aged out of the Air Force, I think it was. The Navy I could have joined, but they wouldn't have anything for about a couple of months later. I didn't have a couple of months. I had to find a place to live. I had to get some money now. So I joined the Army because they had a job now. Okay. Right? So I took a job as tactical signal and joined the Army. So I started training right after that and started getting paid. So Pam, I think, was here. She had got an apartment, and I was doing just whatever money I had. I would just send to you guys.
How many push-ups could you do at the end of boot camp?
How
many push-ups could you do after the end of boot camp?
Oh, by the end of boot camp, I was doing a lot of I started one. I'm trying to think how many I did. About 20. Gotta do 20? Yeah, 20. I had to do 20. And by the end of boot camp, I could do 20. When I joined, I couldn't do but one.
Do you remember how much you weighed? Were you little? You're a tiny thing, huh?
Yeah. I think I weighed like 106, 110, somewhere around. I think it was like 110.
Wow.
Yeah, I was I just needed some muscle.
Right.
Ancestors, elders used to tell their stories and wisdom to assist the youth in finding their path and find courage. We stop focusing on what was taken and begin to focus on what was given. 8 degrees of yes.